Air Force One touches down in Beijing. Trump steps off, smiles, and tells Xi Jinping it's an honor to be your friend. 48 hours later, he flies home, and the only line about Taiwan in the official White House readout is nothing. Zero. Not a single word. Meanwhile, Xi has just told the American president that mishandling Taiwan will put the entire relationship in great jeopardy. So what actually happened inside that room? This was Trump's first state visit to China in his second term, May 13 to 15, 2026. The first sitting U.S. president to land on Chinese soil in nearly 9 years. The guest list on Air Force One read like a Silicon Valley intervention. Elon Musk, NVIDIA chief Jensen Huang, who boarded in Anchorage, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Marco Rubio. And the one man who almost never makes these trips, Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth, the Defense Secretary on a trade visit. Think about that for a second. Pentagon officials do not fly to Beijing to talk about soybeans. They fly when somebody on the other side of the table wants to hear from a uniform. Diplomats privately called it a rare diplomatic move. Translation: this was not a normal summit. Somebody in Beijing wanted the Pentagon chief in the room when Taiwan came up, and he was sitting 2 seats from Xi. Xi did not waste a syllable. He told Trump on camera that Taiwan is the most important issue between our two countries. Then he doubled down. Handle it well, the relationship holds. Handle it badly, the two countries risk collision or conflict. That is not diplomatic noise. That is the leader of a nuclear power telling the President of the United States that war is on the menu if Washington keeps backing Taipei the way it has for 4 decades. And then Xi delivered the line that should be tattooed on every Pentagon wall this week. Taiwan independence and peace in the Taiwan Strait, he said, are as irreconcilable as fire and water. Read it twice. He is not saying war is possible. He is saying peace and independence cannot coexist. One must die. By his own definition, the only way to avoid conflict is for Taiwan to surrender its sovereignty. That is not a warning. That is the offer. Trump's reply was the part that made allies in Tokyo, Manila, and Canberra spit out their coffee. He told reporters the last thing we need right now is a war that is 9,500 miles away. 9,500 miles away. As in not our neighborhood. As in not our problem. For 4 decades, U.S. presidents have practiced strategic ambiguity. Trump just turned the dial towards strategic indifference in one sentence in front of cameras on Chinese soil. Then Trump went further. Asked directly the next day whether he had given Xi anything on Taiwan, he said he made no commitment either way. No commitment. Either way. That is the exact phrasing a leader uses when he wants to sell the same ambiguity twice, once to China, once to Taiwan, and walk away with both checks. The problem is that Beijing reads that sentence as an opening, and Taipei reads it as abandonment, and both are probably right. Now look at the official White House readout posted to X after the bilateral meeting. It listed trade. It listed fentanyl. It listed Iran. It listed soybeans. The word Taiwan was missing entirely. In diplomacy, what you do not put in writing is often louder than what you say at the podium. The omission is the message. And in Zhongnanhai tonight, that omission is being framed as a quiet concession Beijing did not even have to negotiate for. Marco Rubio rushed out the next morning to insist U.S. policy on Taiwan has not changed. When pressed on whether Xi asked Trump to stop arms sales to the island, Rubio said it did not feature prominently in today's discussion. Did not feature prominently. That is a State Department dodge so famous it has its own Wikipedia entry. It means the topic absolutely came up. It means a number was floated, and it means Rubio is not allowed to tell you what number. Meanwhile, the deals that did get announced were enormous. China agreed to buy 200 Boeing aircraft. 200. That is roughly a year of Boeing's narrow-body output, dropped onto a stalled order book in a single signature. Beijing also agreed to start buying American oil again after a multi-year freeze. On paper, Trump just delivered a commercial victory the previous White House could not pry loose in 4 years. So the only honest question is, what did he hand over to get it? Then came the chip bombshell. The administration approved NVIDIA H200 sales to 10 Chinese companies, including Alibaba, Tencent, ByteDance, JD.com, Lenovo, and Foxconn. The Duecento is a top-tier AI accelerator. The export ban on its predecessors was the central pillar of America's chip war. Jensen Huang did not fly to Beijing to admire the Forbidden City. He flew because the door he has been pounding on for 2 years just swung open. And the timing of that opening is not an accident. Trump opened the bilateral by telling Xi, "On the record, it is an honor to be your friend." Friend. Not counterpart. Not partner. Friend. Compare that to the Cold War vocabulary the Pentagon uses every other week to describe the People's Liberation Army across the strait. The contradiction is not a slip of the tongue. It is a deliberate signal that Trump prizes his personal rapport with Xi above the institutional posture of his own government. Xi heard exactly what he was meant to hear. Beijing came into this summit with a specific shopping list. Loosen chip controls, soften Taiwan rhetoric, lift the political ceiling on engagement, restart military-to-military channels on Chinese terms. By the time Air Force One lifted off, 3 of those 4 boxes were ticked or quietly nudged in Beijing's direction. The 4th, an explicit U.S. concession on arms sales to Taipei, did not land. Yet, but Xi just received an invitation to Washington for September 24th, and 4 months is a long time. For 47 years since the Taiwan Relations Act of 1979, the United States has practiced strategic ambiguity, never quite saying it would defend Taiwan, never quite saying it would not. That ambiguity is the entire deterrent. The moment a U.S. president signals he is not willing to fight a war 9,500 miles away, the calculation in Beijing's war planning room changes overnight. Deterrence is a story you tell over and over, and Trump just rewrote the ending in front of the camera. In Taipei, the lights stayed on at the presidential office well past midnight. Diplomats were frantically calling Tokyo, Manila, Canberra, asking the same question. Did America just blink? The Taiwanese stock market opened soft. Defense contractor shares dropped. Lawmakers from the ruling party demanded clarification from Washington within hours. The official Taipei response was muted, calibrated, polite. Behind closed doors, one senior security official told local press that the silence in the readout speaks louder than any briefing room. Here is what nobody on cable TV is saying out loud. The Chinese leadership has spent 5 years telling the People's Liberation Army to be ready by 2027. The previous CIA director flagged that deadline publicly back in 2023. The window Beijing watches is not next decade. It is the next 24 months. And the single most important variable in that window is whether the United States will actually show up. Trump just suggested, on Chinese soil, in front of cameras, that maybe it will not. Look at the deal arithmetic. 200 Boeing planes is roughly $40 billion at list price. American oil purchases on the table reportedly stretch into the tens of billions over multiple years. Tariff de-escalation is worth more again. In exchange, Washington loosened its grip on frontier AI chips and softened its public posture on the one issue Beijing cares about more than any other. Some analysts are calling this the greatest single summit transfer of leverage from Washington to Beijing in modern memory. And it is not over. Trump has already invited Xi for a state visit to Washington on the 24th of September 2026. That gives Beijing 4 full months to extract more concessions in advance, 4 months to lock in the chip approvals, 4 months to calibrate exactly how loud or quiet to be on Taiwan before that motorcade rolls down Pennsylvania Avenue. The summit in Beijing was not the deal. It was the down payment on a much larger deal coming this fall, and the meter is running. So, did Xi just get the green light to move on Taiwan? Technically, no. Trump did not say it. Rubio publicly insists the policy has not changed. The arms sales to Taipei are still on the books. But green lights, in great power politics, are rarely flashed. They are inferred from omissions, from body language, from a single sentence about a war 9,500 miles away. Deterrence is not what Washington claims at the podium. It is what Beijing believes in private. And Beijing believes something shifted. Tokyo is watching. Seoul is watching. Manila, Canberra, even Berlin are watching. If the United States can be talked out of strategic ambiguity over a banquet and a chip license, What does that say about every other commitment in the Pacific? Article 5. The Mutual Defense Treaty with the Philippines, AUKUS. Each of those promises is built on the same underlying material as the Taiwan promise, and that material just got stress-tested in front of a global audience, and it bent. 2 presidents, 1 handshake, 200 Boeing planes, 10 chip approvals, 1 missing word in a readout, and 23 million people on an island wondering if the security blanket they have leaned on for half a century is being quietly folded up. So, you tell me. Did Xi just get the green light to move on Taiwan? Or did Trump play him for the deal of the decade? Drop your call in the comments and tell me what year you think the strait gets crossed. If this video brought you value, hit like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.